This is DMG. Welcome to 70 System, and in this episode we're going to talk about one of my favorite RPG monsters, the skeleton. The ancient dark arts of the necromagi evolved from the exploration of ether magic, the magic of life and death. Centuries of experimentation gave birth to the first spells required to reanimate the dead. At first, these grotesque sculptures of death were merely statuesque. It was only after the dark sorcerer Harrenhausen developed a unique sequence of spells to animate the bones that necromancy came to prominence. A simple puppetry spell used primarily by wandering festival conjurers transformed the necromantic dark arts into a formidable source of military power. The age of undead was upon the world. Necromancers were no longer the haunts of graveyards and morgues, picking the locks of mausoleums and prying open the caskets of the recently departed. Now they could raise battlefields of fallen soldiers. Central to the effectiveness of their armies of skeletons were the secret lists of coded instructions that some modern necromancers now guard with extreme care. The right verbal commands to an undead horde can mean the difference between an effective fighting force and a bone wall. Skeletons are the bone remains of humanoids magically reanimated. Almost none of the original flesh from the corpse remains intact. The entire skeletal construct is held together with the ether magic force acting as the bonds between the bones. The dry bones are often covered with the rotting clothes, the last outfit worn by the living being. Age has always been unkind to their unkept attire. Skeletons are usually accompanied by the mixture of an earthly scent and a rotting stench. In some cases, the faint, sweet smell of death still lingers. Skeletons' eyes are merely sockets that stare unblinkingly forward. In a lot of cases, they are armed with scimitars or short bows and always appear to be grinning maniacally. Skeletons are primarily used to protect areas of importance. In a few cases, the original reason for their animation is lost, but being already dead, they linger on in a location for eons past the time of their original purpose. Stories tell of vast skeletal armies that lie in wait for commands from masters who have long since expired. During the Age of Undead, many of the living were slaughtered to become undead slaves. Some of the great ancient cities of the world have been built around the fortresses of long-forgotten necromagi. Those fortresses, the work of thousands of tireless skeletal fingers. The spells and command lists have been disseminated throughout the libraries of the known world, some lost, some known, and some just being used to prop up a table. They are often encoded into other works or traded secretly amongst symbologists. Skeletons can be literally anywhere. There is no requirement for them to be in a certain environment or climate. They are completely mindless and only follow the instructions or commands originally instilled in them when they were reanimated. Skeletons are generally armed with whatever was nearby or readily available when the necromancer cast the spell that rose them from the dead. However, being traditionalists, a lot of necromancers prefer to arm them with scimitars, a formidable-looking weapon to most. These skeletal warriors follow no leader, suffer not from emotion, and have no mental ability at all. They are completely and utterly mindless. They relentlessly follow their command words until the time they are utterly destroyed. They can only be destroyed by smashing the skull. The skull is usually the key bone to the entire necromantic process. Once destroyed, the magnamagic force acting on the bones is dissipated and the bones collapse in a heap. Any skeleton which loses all its limbs is considered to be completely neutralized. When encountering skeletons, a party may not know what the skeleton's true purpose is. The skeletons may remain utterly motionless or in a pile on the ground or under a pile of rubble, waiting to be triggered into action. If the party is no longer performing the action that triggers the skeletons, then they retreat back into their stationary, concealed location in order to wait for the trigger to occur again. Triggers range in complexity from single-word commands up to 7 words. Some spells allow the commands to be changed, in which case they need to be carefully reworded. It is advisable that the person running the game change the command parameters for each group of skeletons in order to maintain a mystery to the true purpose of the skeletons encountered. Kill all who enter here, let no living thing pass, protect this room, disarm everyone, are some of the commands that may have been in common use during the Age of Undead. Skeletons will continue to fight regardless of the condition of their bones. It requires the destruction of the skull to neutralize the controlling spell. Even if the skeleton has only one limb left, it will attempt to perform its task with ruthless determination. It is not uncommon for a group of undead to be enormously frustrating to destroy. Their unyielding assaults can quickly tire even the hardiest party of adventurers. Skeletons with no legs will drag their torso around and fight with their remaining arms. Those without arms will kick and bite their opponents as if the loss of their limbs were of no consequence. Slashing and piercing weapons are nowhere near as effective at destroying skeletons as bludgeoning weapons. When attacked with slashing and piercing weapons, skeletons will gain advantage to protection. A sword thrust to the chest that would otherwise kill a living being has little effect when it merely passes right through the ribcage. As such, skeletons do not suffer injuries, but for each successful attack, either a limb, the torso, or the skull is damaged. Some skeletons may be destroyed pretty quickly, while others may take a considerable effort to defeat. Repeated successful strikes on already damaged limbs or torso do not damage the skeleton anymore, but are rather negated. I absolutely love skeletons. Thank you for joining me in this video, and if you'd like to see future monster videos that come out every week, please subscribe to this channel at youtube.com/70system. If you'd like to support this channel, check out patreon.com/70system, and there's Facebook and Twitter /70system as well. In the next video, we're going to talk about the little known cucaracha. If you like this video, click the like button. Thank you for joining me in the necromantic dark arts of skeletons.